Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of the County Seat. It's a special episode brought to you from the State Boardroom at the Utah State Capitol. We are talking about prison relocation for our topic today. It has been bannered about in the hall here as the topic of the session. And it is going to be our topic today. Now, there are a lot of things that go into moving a prison. It's not just a matter of selling the real estate, buying new land, building a building, and moving prisoners into it. There are things such as transportation of prisoners. There is the design of the facility, employees, volunteers, many things that go into moving a prison. So let's get a background look and get ourselves up to speed before we get into our discussion.
We've all had the experience of looking for a hotel room while on a road trip. Over there's a chain hotel that costs $78 a night, or there's a budget inn for $47 a night. So, which one do you stay at? Now, some of you might think, well, it's not that big a difference in price, but what if I told you that the cheaper hotel actually had some benefits that the other didn't? That makes the cheaper room an easy choice, right? But what if we ask the same question about where state inmates should be kept? Not in hotels, of course, but in the state prison for $78 a day versus a county jail for $47 a day.
There's an advantage for the counties to house state inmates because we can frankly do it for less cost.
It's a mutual beneficial thing. For us, it's definitely, there's an obvious benefit up front because we don't have the adequate number of beds here at the prison. So the county jails provide a way for us to send some of those inmates out to available beds.
Not all state inmates can be housed in county jails because the smaller facilities are not maximum security prisons. But 20% of state inmates, or about 1,600 people, are currently housed in county jails across Utah. If you do the math, the savings is significant to the state and ultimately the taxpayers.
With the current contract with the counties that do contract with the state right now, it's a little over $18 million that we save the state.
There are also advantages beyond the dollars saved. Inmates themselves can be saved as well. Jail programming has created opportunities for inmates to rejoin their communities, and it's also cut down on recidivism.
They're people, and when they leave our facilities, we want them to make them feel like they're people, not just a number when they leave the state facility.
There's treatment programs in terms of substance abuse treatment, sex offender treatment, things like this. Just the intent, of course, is the offenders will go through this treatment and never return to prison. You know, that's the ideal situation.
County jails impact those outside of their walls as well. Most of the facilities are in rural communities, and they impact local economies in big ways.
We were able to put a lot of young families to work. It gave the county an opportunity, or the people an opportunity to keep their kids at home and have a good job that they could have there instead of having to leave.
Despite the apparent advantages of contracting state inmates to the counties, the recent discussions in the Utah Senate over relocating the state prison in Draper have overlooked those benefits.
If they build a mega prison and pull those inmates out, but I built a jail for 200 beds to help the state with contracting to bring a program in and do an addiction program. And if that all left, it would put such a burden on the people of the county to pay the bond on that big building. It would almost bankrupt our county.
We're one of the smallest counties per capita in people, but yet we're the largest contracting county with the state of Utah.
The relocation of the state prison involves a lot of different people. From the county's point of view, the discussion should also look at the resources that are already available to the state in the form of county jails.
But we also have to look at it as what is best overall for the state and these inmates, so that it's twofold. It is economic development, plus it is good on these inmates. They get a better life in these county contracted jails, and they're better people once they leave.
For the county seat, I'm Terry Wood.
Well, stay with us. When we come back, we will have a discussion about Senate Bill 72, the prison relocation bill. We will look at the impacts that it has at saving money for the state, the impacts it has on the counties, and we will talk with our panel about some of the problems and pitfalls that have come along with this bill. We'll be right back here on the County Seat.
Good morning. If you're just getting up, it's a cold one out there today. Lots of snow and the commute is ugly.
Grief.
Don't you wish that you were somewhere else? Somewhere else?
Escape from your world and find another in Kanab, the perfect destination for adventure, history, and exploration that can be enjoyed any time of the year. Don't let Mother Nature keep you holed up all winter when you can escape anytime and enjoy the best that Utah has to offer. Come to Kanab and see what we mean.
Almost 45% of the oil produced in Utah, 7.8 million barrels, comes from Duchesne County. That oil feeds our state economy, provides job growth, and supports local business. Here in Duchesne County, we're working to make Utah an economic, cultural, and technological leader. Whether you're here for business or pleasure, Duchesne County will welcome you with open arms and invite you to explore all the beauty of the Uinta Mountains. Duchesne County, close enough for business, far enough to get away.
What do you picture when you hear Rich County, Utah? Bear Lake adventure, snowmobile action, pristine skiing, spectacular solitude. Well, if that isn't what first came to mind, then you just don't know Rich County. The Bear Lake Monster Polar Plunge, snowmobiling Monte Cristo, ice fishing Bear Lake, skiing the backcountry, fishing at the Cisco Disco. Come and find out what you never knew you were missing. Rich County, Utah.
The State of Utah School and Institutional Trust Lands Administration. SITLA manages 3.5 million acres of Utah lands with the express purpose of furthering the education of Utah students while promoting local industry, oil and gas, even residential development, all at the same time. Through the careful use of trust lands, we distributed more than $22 million to Utah schools last year. The State of Utah School and Institutional Trust Lands Administration, building the state's permanent school fund.
Welcome back to the County Seat. Today we're talking about prison relocation. We're here at the state capitol in the Capitol boardroom. Joining us for the discussion about prison relocation, Senator Scott Jenkins, Senate District 20, Leland Pollock, who's a commissioner from Garfield County, and Representative Mike Noel from House District number 73. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for being here.
This whole prison relocation thing has picked up quite a bit of steam, and House Bill 70 or Senate Bill 72 seems like it's like the engine's got a little ahead of the tracks here a little bit, and there's a lot of controversy about it. Leland, what's your major concern as far as the counties are concerned?
Well, first of all, we've been working with Senator Jenkins. He's been very good to work with us. Our concern is we want to be part of the process. We want a seat at the table. I think that's fair. We've been a good partner throughout this history of contracting with the counties. We do it for a very reasonable rate. We just want to be part of the process, and we want to be involved.
So, Mike, what are you? Tell me about the resolution, House Resolution number 5, that you're pushing through right now.
House Concurrent Resolution number 5 is just to allow the body, the Senate and the House, to look at what has happened over the years with the contract partnership between the state and the counties, the benefits of that, this partnership that we've had that we believe has been a very, very good partnership, and I think Senator Jenkins recognizes that. And again, this is a huge process. There's a lot of money involved. There's a lot of players involved. We just want to make sure that those of us that have been partners with the state for many years in housing prisoners, state prisoners, that we are included in this discussion and that we can provide options and things which we think will benefit the taxpayers of the state of Utah, the citizens, and most importantly will benefit those prisoners to reduce recidivism, to allow for programming in the system, to spread those prisoners out in a better fashion so that it's a regional type concept, and to use the existing space that we have out there in the system. We have over 1,000 beds available in the county right now that could take some of this capacity as we decide to move this prison to a new location. So that's what the bill is about, and it spells it out.
Well, Senator Jenkins, as far as this bill goes, from your perspective, you're very comfortable with looking at any one of a number of options on how to get the job done, but I know that there are a couple of your colleagues that say, no, corrections needs to build a great big mega facility and let's bring all of our prisons together in one location.
No, when we went over this process, our responsibility as a committee was to look at the financial viability of moving the prison. And we've determined that it is financially viable, that there's some real benefits in doing it. So this process starts again right now. And the goal is to find the best deal for the citizens of Utah. And that doesn't mean building a mega prison. It doesn't mean building a little prison. It doesn't mean anything. It means finding what's best for the state of Utah and its citizens and what's best for those prisoners. Now, I'm very, very comfortable with the idea of the counties being part of this process. As the commissioner says, they've been great partners in the past. They've, this system expands and contracts on a regular basis depending on how prisoners come into it. Well, we have hard walls, so we struggle with the expansion. And they have picked up our expansion for years in contracting with us. So we have a great deal of respect and hold the county system in high regards when it comes to this. And so we absolutely look favorably upon this.
Does the state really need to have even have a facility as far as a central prison, or could they virtually contract all of the prisoners out to the counties?
Well, that's under debate. I think the Department of Corrections would argue that they need to have a prison, absolutely, and I'll tell you why. You have those members on death row, you have hardened criminals that have long prison times, and that we have to deal with for years and years and years. And those kind of prisoners, they would like to have control over. But we have a lot of prisoners that rotate through there that very well could go to facilities that are not near as high-end as the prisons. And frankly, the counties have demonstrated their capacity to build very good jails. We have no problem with that. You look at the brand new jail out in Tooele County. That's as state-of-the-art as you could get. That's a great jail. And so we view the counties as tremendous partners.
Well, we've actually replicated that model all over the system with the 20 contract counties. The newer facilities are less labor intensive, they're safer, they're better equipped, they offer the option of doing programming in those facilities. However, we recognize as counties that the 4 different levels of prisoners, level 1, level 2, level 3, and level 4, the 2 levels we're looking at are level 3 and level 4, which is the lowest offenders. The level 1's never going to happen, and even level 2's. So that would be, we see as counties, and it's in the resolution, that the maximum security, level 1, level 2, really bad guys, as Scott said, that are not going to get out and they're trouble, we're not going to take those in the county. So there's got to be a facility for that size. Right now, that's about 700 men. There's 500 women up there, and there's 700 men, and the balance of that 4,000 or 3,500 are level 2 or level 3 and level 4. That's the prisoners and the women prisoners we'd like to move out into the county system, into this existing space, add to the space that's there at a very low rate, making sure that we take the hit for the bonding by the county, so the state doesn't have to bond. We're really right up against our capacity, as Scott knows, on our bonding had to reach the maximum constitutional capacity there. So the counties take that responsibility, and we got a win-win for the state of Utah.
So there's a need for a high security prison core somewhere, and but it sounds like it really doesn't need to be any bigger than any one of the contract jails, which we have currently from Tooele on the west, Uintah County on the east. You've got Garfield, Kane County. Beaver County have all made recent investments in expansion of jails.
Actually, it'd have to be a little bigger than that. Yet 700, and when the state builds it, and correct me if I'm wrong, Scott, but I worked on this now for 10 years, on my 11th year. There needs to be enough for expansion, so I'm thinking more like 1,500. There's 700 there, but they want to build that out to the maximum. So we would see it being around 1,500. It might be even a little bit less, or maybe a little bit more. And that's part of the study that Scott's doing, and the Senate has brought forward this bill. The legislature is looking at.
You know, this process that we have started, I'm not committing to anything here, because we've allowed this new group the tools they need to address this and solve the problems. And a big part of this is programming and trying to get our recidivism rates down where they need to be. And so whether Mike's talking numbers, I'm not talking numbers. I don't care. They can divide it as they feel is appropriate. They can split it up. They certainly need to view the counties as good partners. And if they can offer us a great deal, I am all in favor of giving them a shot at this as well.
Okay, great. Listen, we're coming up onto a commercial break. I would like to come back to this conversation in just a minute and maybe do a little bit of a checklist of the benefits of distributing prisoners out, because they're, you know, we've talked about programming, we've talked about cost per prisoner, we've talked about construction costs, and it seems to me that it might help our viewers if we did kind of a checklist. So if that's agreeable with you gentlemen, we are going to take a break here from the county seat. When we come back, we will take a look at that checklist and see if we can come up with the pros and cons of this debate. We'll be right back here on the county seat.
How would you spend an extra day in Utah Valley? Stay one more day. Visit utahvalley.com to make reservations. Utah Valley. Bring everyone together.
Along Interstate 70 and Highway 89 is an area that is rich with high mountain peaks, vast forests, lakes, streams, historical sites, and a climate that is perfect for outdoor adventures, no matter what the season. Whether you visit Sevier County to catch one of the many celebrations, experience a country-style county fair, or be part of various concerts, sports, or equestrian events, you will be greeted by local residents with a smile and a welcoming hand. In the center of it all, Sevier County.
Industry is the symbol of Utah. Beauty is what makes it unique. Nowhere else are these two qualities exemplified, like in Uinta County. Oil and gas extraction, pioneer history, the spirit of hard work and integrity that feed our state. Built in the middle of the most spectacular backdrop in the West. Isn't it time you found the balance you've been looking for? Uinta County, Utah, where industry meets inspiration.
Welcome back to the county seat. We've been talking about prison relocation. The state is taking the position that it's viable, it's time to do it. The bills are proceeding in the Senate, and we've got concurrent resolutions coming out of the House to help bring this process along. So it's going to change the landscape of how prisoners are handled in the state. Now, we wanted to talk about the pros and cons of doing it this way and make a checklist of what kinds of advantages. The top one on my list that I see is actually a benefit to the counties in the fact that you put a large facility in Salt Lake County, as you have right now, the impact on the job picture isn't very big, but you take just a few contract prisoners like Leland would have in Garfield County, and the 15 or 20 jobs that come from that is a fairly significant impact on the population of that county. So with that framework set out there, what are some of the other things? Any one of you?
Well, I'll start that. You know, as counties, we save the state $18.6 million a year. I've stated that before. That's quite a savings, and that's on 1,600 inmates. You give us another 1,600, that's $37 million that we save per year. A real benefit that we need to address is we have some outstanding sheriffs in the state of Utah. Each county jail is monitored and directly supervised by your sheriffs. They're an elected official in each county. These guys care about these inmates. They do. And they care about the integrity of the system, and they care whether the inmate is rehabbed. They care whether he breaks out. You see what I'm saying? You have a level at the county level that I don't think you get at the state prison level. So we have a lot of benefits. I could go on and on and on about the benefits.
What impact does programming have on the state's outlook as far as this going forward?
Well, programming is a big part of this. Many of these people get in the system and they just end up rotating through over and over and over. And we've got to break that cycle. And so a big part of the building of a new facility is having the proper space that we need to run programs to try to prevent some of these things from happening.
Now, if you take a regional or a county approach to this, that means you can specialize programming and you can target inmates based on the programming offered?
That's a very suitable, but there's no question we've got to do a better job on the programming side to break this cycle. That's a big part of this.
The counties have really taken a big lead in this, and we incentivize the counties by several dollars a day on the inmates that come in the county system to provide drug and alcohol treatment, to give them opportunities to get their high school degree and also some college and maybe come out even with a skill, to give them sex abuser training. So all of the facilities we foresee within the county system and the prison system in the future would have programming involved. The recidivism rate in the counties, that means the number of times people come back in the system, is actually lower in the counties than it is in the state system. We think because that they're out in the system, they're smaller numbers of inmates out there, and the community is helping in this process. That's the important part of it. Really, 90% of these men are all coming back into society. Do they come back in with a skill, with know about their drug treatment, with some education, or do they just go back in and revolve around and come back again? That's $20,000 a year difference, or $26,000 a year if they come back in and then turn around and come back in the system.
Mike, some detractors would look at this and say, if you spread inmates around the state, your transportation costs to get them moved around is going to go way up. Are there advantages to having the prisoners separated and being able to move them around the state?
I think there are. These prisoners that are coming in the system, from my experience, are younger, they're harder, there's gang affiliations there. It gives the director of the Department of Corrections, who has ultimate responsibility over those prisoners, to say, I want to move this guy out because I don't want him with this guy, or I don't want him with that guy. They can move him around the system. This person needs sex abuse training, we'll send him to San Juan. He needs drug and alcohol treatment, we'll send him to Garfield County or Kane County. So there's a lot more flexibility in the system this way and a lot more opportunities. As Scott said, these walls are solid, but the inmates move in and out. Our goal is to reduce the recidivism rate. We know there's going to be more criminals because we're growing, but if we can reduce the rate and stabilize this population, we know we're going to have a certain amount of society that's going to do that. It benefits the taxpayers, and that's my goal, to help men, benefit the taxpayers, and make sure that the counties are involved in this process.
You know, from a state's point of view, we're not anxious to get in the business of transferring prisoners. That doesn't interest us a whole lot. But from the county's point of view, they're saying, look, we will transfer prisoners. You don't have to be worried about it. Well, then all of a sudden that brings us to a point where we're saying, well, okay, if you're willing to transfer them, and we don't have to, we've got something to talk about. We just don't want to do a whole lot of transferring if we don't have to.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to make sure that we address that concern that people have about that cost, but it sounds like there are benefits to offset it. Well, listen, we've got one more break here on the County Seat. We're going to take a commercial break. We'll come back and do a wrap-up. Got a couple more questions on this very lively topic of relocating the prison. Stay with us. We'll be back after this break.
Anything worth doing in this quiet little town?
You strike me as the kind of girl that likes a manicure and a massage.
I was hoping for something a little more vigorous.
Vigorous, I can do.
And I thought you'd be riding side saddle.
What? I'm gonna regret this.
Cedar City, Utah is home of the Tony Award-winning Utah Shakespeare Festival. But did you know that we also offer a different kind of play?
Escape the gray. Head south for clear skies. Cedar City, Bryan Head. It's where play is the thing.
In San Rafael country, you'll discover more adventure and excitement than you can imagine. And it's only 2 hours from the Wasatch Front. Find gorges that descend thousands of feet, trails that go on forever, and the solitude of finding a place all your own. Emery County and the San Rafael Swell. We're closer than you think.
Welcome back to the county seat. Boy, you know, you viewers at home should be able to sit here and listen to what goes on during these breaks. This is indeed a lively little bit of a discussion here. I just wanted to point out one thing, and Leland, maybe you can address this best because you are at a county level. When people go into state custody and they're put out on contract, usually it's regional. Is there some value of somebody who's in rehabilitation being a little closer to his family as opposed to having somebody have to travel from Garfield County to do visitation all the way up to Salt Lake? Does that help in rehabilitation from your perspective?
Well, that's a good concern. And to be honest with you, I don't know the answer to that. I do know that these inmates that are farmed out to the counties, they have a better chance at being rehabilitated. And we have new technology now through Skype or whatever, video communication, that we can let them communicate with their family members.
There's a misperception on this, Chad. When you come to visit your loved one in the prison system, you don't have a direct contact. It's a video. So whether we have a video in the prison in a room over here, or whether they're at home on a video presentation through some other means, it's the same thing.
You mean I can't bake a cake with a file in it anymore?
No, you can't do that. You can't do it at all. Absolutely. So we can do that. We can actually have more visits. We've got that solved.
Okay,
we can have arraignments in the jails. We've got that solved. Transportation's going down.
All right, here we are.
Well, and that's part of the construction of the new prison, is to give the new prison the availability or the ability to do more of this.
Mm-hmm. So here we are about halfway through the legislative session. Mm-hmm. We've started down the road on this process. It's not going to be something that happens in the next year and a half or 2 years and we're going to have a ribbon cutting. I understand it's a process.
That's right.
What are the pitfalls, though, that may come across this between now and the end of this legislative session?
I think it's more important. You've missed one big issue here.
Okay.
We buy in, as the committee, to the fact that this process is 20% about moving the prison, and it's 80% about developing the land. Right. The fiscal note on this bill, even though it wasn't large, when you look at the fiscal impact over a 20-year period, it was over $19 billion to the state of Utah by developing that property. It was huge. So that property sits right in the center of a very unique area with the data center and Adobe and eBay and IM Flash and I-15 and the tracks and everything that's down there. It's a very unique piece of property. And we estimate that'll hold as high as 40,000 jobs. That's 700 acres, 690 acres.
That is fairly significant.
And the counties want to help them get those jobs and bring them to the Wasatch Front and bring those prisoners to the counties. That's our goal.
Sounds like a win-win situation. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us today. We are fresh out of time for the county seat. We invite you to pass this along to your friends. Please watch it online, thecountyseat.tv. Remember, this is the government. The level of government that has the most impact on your daily lives. We thank you for inviting us into your home this morning, and we look for you next week on the County Seat.